What's up, everyone? Welcome back to StrangeCast, Player One vs. Life is Strange podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Adnan. My co-host, Adam, is here.
Hi, I'm Adam. Adnan did not realize I had new glasses on, so I'm hurting the inside.
Yes, he's hurting, but ignore us too, because we have a very special guest on. We have someone whose, resume speaks volumes in itself about Life is Strange. Worked on every mainline Life is Strange game, formerly of Square Enix, now of Supermassive Games. Alejandro Arque is here. Alejandro, welcome. It's a long time coming, this.
Hello. Thank you for having me around. It's been a pleasure. I've been hearing some of your podcasts, which I love.
Nice.
So it's an honor. I'm a tiny bit nervous, so sorry, Cesar, a tiny bit.
Bro, I'm nervous having you on. I'm just like, whoa, this guy has his fingers in every single Life is Strange mainline. So we're nervous to have you on, man.
Then it's me too. So let's try to relax then.
Yeah, we got a whole podcast of nerves going on. Sweaty hands all around.
There you go.
I'm very excited to have you on here. We followed each other on Twitter for many, many years. And then on top of that as well, I think it was like last interaction with Luc on one of our episodes where he was talking about paella and he's like, Alejandro's better. And I was like, you know what? Now we need to get Alejandro on this podcast. It feels like it's been long overdue now. I feel like we need to have some kind of interaction now, like on a podcast. So I'm really glad to have you here. And before we dig into things as well, guys, if you are watching on YouTube, please do leave us a subscribe, like, share, and turn on notifications. Keeps up to date with our content. And this podcast is available on all podcast services, so you can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and everything else. So, Alejandro, as I said, so much to talk about. Many people know you in the Life is Strange community for the games that you've worked on, how many games you've worked on, how long you've been at Square Enix. And I'm kind of changing this up a little bit. It's going to kind of jump back and forth on different subjects. I'm going to start with Square Enix because, in 2021, you left Square Enix after 7 years and obviously started working at Supermassive Games. Obviously, huge congratulations on that and going to a game director role. I think, obviously, a lot of us are very excited to see what you're working on. And, NDAs permitting and everything else. We can't talk about certain things you're working on, but
it's been announced, so,
Oh.
Good.
Ooh.
Got announced a couple of weeks back. It's very different to everything I've done so far. It's called Switchback VR, which is a PSVR exclusive.
Oh, yes.
On Rails.
Damn. Okay. Whoa, I'm a little pumped right now. Hold on. That's you?
Very exciting. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Damn. Man. Because you said it's VR, yeah?
PSVR 2, yes.
Dang. Because here's the thing. I have a history with epilepsy, so I've steered clear away from VR.
Okay.
And every time I watch VR, I'm just like, I want to play it, but like the risk factor is just like,
yeah, I would not. I mean,
yeah. I'll watch it on Twitch. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll watch it when Katie Benz puts it on Twitch. I'll watch that.
I hope so, because I talked last time I saw her. I was like, "You need to play the game I'm doing. You need to play the."
I know, dude. So she'll get on, and I'll watch her play. Yeah, no problem.
Exactly.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
so we don't have to worry about the NDA part of it because I didn't know if your project had been announced yet. But I'm very excited that it's been announced, obviously, in the role, and huge congratulations on that. But I kind of want to start off with you took the big step of leaving Square Enix after 7 years working Life is Strange for so long. I just wanted to know what was the feeling like leaving the studio after the publisher after that much time and having worked on Life is Strange as long as you did.
It was very scary, not gonna lie. And there is a lot of emotions there because I did start working from the first Life is Strange till kind of the last one. It was a very hard decision for me to do because I loved Life is Strange. I did consider Life is Strange kind of a key part of Life is Strange community and creation wise for a long time, and it was a very hard decision to do. Still in touch with a lot of the people there at Square and some of the Deck 9 people and Donut as well. But it was for me was the time, to be honest. I wanted to do horror my whole life. I'm a very horror huge fan.
Oh yeah.
And the opportunity came in, and I couldn't resist. And as well, I wanted kind of a bit of variety, do something different, do something more personal, more mine. And kind of try to bring a bit of everything I learned to other kind of genres in a way, because I have to say I learned a lot from Life is Strange. And I kind of recently I kind of created all the frames for all the games I worked. Yeah. I post them on the wall.
Yeah.
Which I always wanted to do, but it kind of felt like I felt like I was feeling too much of a, boasting about, and I felt like, but it's stuff that I've worked on, and you should feel proud of having those there on the wall. But it was very sad. It was very sad. The same as it was very sad that they had to say goodbye to Dugnan, that they had to say goodbye to Donald and my colleagues at Square, which I love to bits. It's been a lot of emotion throughout the years. But we still talk every 2 weeks. I have a D&D session with some of my ex-colleagues on Square.
Nice.
So we keep in touch. It was tough, but I think it was needed for me, my personal growth in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like that because obviously going from game designer to game director is a huge leap, and you've learned so much from the other directors you worked with. Life is Strange, and I kind of wanted to ask you into that just a bit more. Was that you worked on that franchise for so long, and as you said with Frame a Game, you got them all on your wall, which is really cool. And if anyone wants to check them out, you should go on Frame a Game. You can get your own versions done.
So good.
But was there fear of like going the uncharted territory to like Supermassive Game because you're going to be working on a new IP and moving away from Life is Strange? Because I always say to people like devs can sometimes work on one franchise for so long, and like yourself, you've moved on to something new, and then even like Michel and Luc, who will bring on later on, they've gone into working their new IP. Was that kind of like a fear built in at first, being like, oh, we're going to completely uncharted territories now, despite having so much experience as a game developer?
Yes, it was. It was very scary. I'm not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I've been working on Life is Strange. I did a lot of previous projects. I've been in the industry for quite some time, working on first-person shooters and puzzle games and stuff like that. And it was like, cool, I think I'm ready to do something like this. Really needed. And it is a change because, Switchback, in this case, it's a shooter. It doesn't have much of a story. It does have a story. It's quite different and interesting. But I wanted to give a kind of a big change, and then maybe in the future we'll go back to narrative with everything I know now about horror and what I know about narrative games. But it was very scary. But I got a lot of support from all my ex-colleagues, from my new colleagues at Supermassive, and it kind of let me as well create my own team. So all the team that I have there I've been kind of putting together the team since I started working there, which was great. And then I said no to anything kind of I asked for that sense. So I'm very lucky. I consider myself lucky that I got given the chance. Fear. I'm still extremely scared. So not gonna lie, because I think. But that was always the case. Every time one of the games got released or announced, or I was like, oh, people are going to hate it. People are not going to like it. Then they're going to see that, I suck at this thing. And it's been the constant, always. So I think the fact that I don't think myself too big in that sense keeps me as well grounded, because I always see things to improve things. How can I make things better for me and my colleagues as well? So on the project that I'm working on.
Can I ask a fun question?
Yes, sure.
Because, okay, so you're boys with Life is Strange people. You can dap them up. Okay, so perfect world. There's no contracts. There's no, NDAs or anything like that sprinkled around. You can just collaborate with Donut. And they ask you, Alejandro, to make the perfect Life is Strange horror game. What does it look like? Who are the characters? What type of horror, like survival horror or psychological thriller? What is the perfect Life is Strange horror game?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. Oh my God, I would get Max and Chloe back for sure. It would be psychological horror all the way through, playing into people's dreads and fears.
So like Amnesia, almost.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll bring that one up. I'll bring for sure Daniel and Sean. But I mean, it'll be a weird cast because endings. But it'll be a kind of a different timeline, and I'll probably bring Steph onto the mix because I think she'll be the perfect storyteller. It'll be the first one telling the story, and then she tells the story of something that happened in Arcadia Bay or something like this.
Would she almost be like the psychologist in Until Dawn?
Yeah. She's the perfect one. I mean, I love all the scenes with Steph, and I think she's amazing as a character, and the actress as well, Katie.
Oh, I was going to say, because this is really a cool concept, and Adam put this in a kind of good position, because I wanted to ask you something. Obviously, we know that you're a horror fan. You've repeatedly said it, and for me, like, I'm a huge horror fan. Like, I don't celebrate any day in the year except for my Halloween. I don't even celebrate my own birthday. I love Halloween, love horror films, and the fact, like, when you moved to Supermassive Games, I was like, wow, that's such a cool opportunity, because like they've become so synonymous with horror recently. My last game that I played with them was Until Dawn. I've need to play the other games as well, the Quarry and the Dark Anthology. They're on my list. But what I wanted to ask you was that I always find Life is Strange quite interesting, that there was always a kind of fusion of different genres. And especially with like, I look at Life is Strange 1, there's the kind of like the horror elements with the dark room, the kind of scene setting. Same with even like the last project you worked on with True Colors, where it's like, you have that kind of scene where it's like Jed turns on Alex, the kind of the mine shaft, the dark elements that come in it. I wanted to ask you, because did you get to work on any of the scenes of the darker sides of Life is Strange in the franchise? And how beneficial is it now having the opportunity to work on those, and then now working on a studio which is heavily focused on driving horror forward in its games?
So yes, like the quick answer is yes. I did work on the first Life is Strange. I worked very close with Michel, Luc, and Raoul, working on the entire season and kind of talking about that last episode with not only the dark room but the whole nightmare sequence and all that stuff. It was very interesting. Not as much in True Colors. I did, because I joined the project quite late on the day, because I was working on Life is Strange 2 at the time. But it was, nonetheless, it was a lot of work on there. But I always say that, let's say that the type of games that Life is Strange is, and horror, I think the horror works for me the best when it plays into the psychology of the characters. So the more you get attached to the characters, the more, like I said, The Conjuring or even The Exorcist, which is a lot of part of the movie on The Exorcist. Nothing happens. You get attached to those, the kid, the mom, their lives. And then when something really bad happened to them, you fear for their lives. For me, that's, Life is Strange is kind of the same in that sense, that you get to know those characters, those relationships. So when something bad is about to happen, you feel like extra emotional, extra fearful of them getting some harm. So I think there's a lot of similarities there that has helped me a lot into work on how to bring those two together.
Yeah. No, it's really awesome just to play through these Life is Strange games, because you know what you're getting into. You're going to get attached to these characters. There's a lot of craftsmanship behind the writing and all that. I do want to ask you, though, following up with all that. So you worked on Life is Strange 1, 2, Before the Storm, and True Colors. With all these character writings, which one of these games do you feel like you're attached to the most, whether it be you as a fan of gameplay or you as someone who's worked on these?
It's a very tough one. Because I think one kind of I mean, I love them all. Okay, let's
sure, yeah. Like,
let's start with this.
Yeah,
I felt specifically.
There's no favorite child.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give a very big answer. So my favorite one would be probably the second one, Life is Strange 2, because it is a tale of two brothers. I do have a brother, and I felt very much attached to that. And not only that, I live in UK, I'm Spanish. Sometimes there is things that happens in life that make you feel like you're not welcome in some scenarios, and that kind of felt very touchy, even though I live here, speak the language, and there's no problem. And 99% of the times that's true. There is no problem. But some occasions you get some of those encounters where you go, really, That season kind of touched me in that sense, and had a lot of conversations with Michel and Raoul about racism and how people behave and stuff like this. However, Life is Strange 1 as well was my first narrative game, and I was very afraid. I remember saying to most I wanted to work on Life is Strange. I'd never done any narrative games before, and it was a small game for kind of the portfolio that Square Enix had at the time, and I was like, yeah, but I really like the story they're trying to tell. I really like how characters are. I really want to get involved into those ones. So one will always have a special place in my heart.
Oh yeah,
because it's the first one, and again I got to meet Luc, Michel, Raoul, and the team in Donut, which I love to bits. So that was an incredible experience. But as a game story, I love the second one a lot. Before the Storm as well, and True Colors as well. Okay, but
yeah, you can't mention them.
But yeah, that will be
nice.
For me, the story of Two Brothers, kind of got me very, very, very deep. So.
Oh yeah.
See, that's like, as I said, like when you name off each one, it's like it gets even more difficult to choose the favorite one. But when you said Life is Strange 2, I recently made Adam a convert into Life is Strange 2. He went back and played it after many years, and he's come onto the side of the Wolf Brothers. And I kind of want to just jump into that because you mentioned it there as well. Like, you recently went to Spain for holiday. We'll talk about the paella in a little bit. We need to know the in-depth intricacies of that. But like as you said, it hits home, that story. And I think like with the Diaz brothers kind of relationship, they're both Hispanic. They have Spanish-speaking dialect. And I know that whilst Philip Bark and Gonzalo Martin would be working the character, I just wanted to ask you on a personal front, and it might be going down a rabbit hole here, but did Michel and Raoul or Luc ever kind of come up to you asking about the Spanish dialect that Sean speaks in the scripts or anything, just for your input, because you have a history of Spain and you've lived there, you've worked as a developer there? Was there any kind of consideration there? I know, because obviously I know it's out.
Yeah, no. So we did talk about it. However, they speak Mexican, which is not the same as Spanish, so there's some sentences and words we do not use in Spain. So I kind of left more that to them to the side, which is fair. Again, I am not a writer, and I will never pretend to be one. But no, we did talk a lot as well about when to say certain things and if it was natural or not natural. We did spend a lot of time talking about dialogue and certain scenes as well. So.
Okay. I was just curious, and as I said, I might have gone down a rabbit hole there, but I thought I'd pick you on that. And I'll come back to Life is Strange 2 in a little bit, because I was just want to go back to Life is Strange 1, because obviously it was such a monumental moment for the franchise, the start of it, for Don't Nod. Obviously, Luc, Michel, Raoul, you worked with closely. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was I found out that you designed the forward and skip mechanic for Max's time power.
No,
I believe that you were...
So.
Really?
I did work on it. So forward and third, they were there since the very beginning. Right. However, when I joined the project, we did talk a lot about the UI and how to kind of communicate that sort of things with Michel and Raoul, and I was heavily influenced on that section. But the rewind and fast forward and back, that was from the beginning. But I did influence a bit on that section of the UI front.
This is like a recurring segment. It's like Sherlock Adnan, like sleuths around, and then like a game director from Life is Strange is like, no, that's not it.
Well,
but to say as well that it's very difficult for someone to say, I did this, just me.
Yeah.
Because, the team's huge, and again, I didn't come when they started. I did come slightly later, after I think it was VS, something like this, so they had a lot of work already on it. I joined there and kind of started talking about giving feedback for scenes, for gameplay mechanics, for different dialogues. I kind of spent a lot of time with the guys talking. And again, there was a lot of conversations and a lot of back and forth on different things that were done at the time. So I cannot take the credit for any
Okay, because as I said, like when I looked online, it's like there were some places that said that you designed the forward and the skip mechanic, and it's like because when I was preparing for this, I was like, because you're a designer, you're a lead designer on a lot of the games, but it's hard to kind of fix your timeline of what you're working on, how you're doing it. So kind of like to dig into that a little bit more, because as you said, Life is Strange 1 is in production for a while, and you worked for Square Enix, so you weren't working for Don't Nod specifically, you were working with Square Enix, and Square Enix obviously lent its hands to Don't Nod and Deck 9. So when did you become involved with the project, and what was it like when you found out about Life is Strange? Because at that point, Don't Nod was relatively unknown. It was a French developer. It had one really big game that I had with Remember Me, which was a commercial failure for them as well. They've always been quite open about it. And then also just hearing the original pitch for it. Because as I said, like sort of people who've seen Twin Peaks and stuff, they're like, oh yeah, it's got all the kind of the vibes and it hits tones. Funnily enough, before this, I was getting ready for this interview, you said that it's like, you're on the Blackwell podcast and you said like, we never saw Life is Strange as a AAA game. It's like a Sundance film a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what to ask you, like that kind of thing. Like when did you get involved with the project? And then also kind of like finding your footing with people like Michel, Luc, and Raoul, and then kind of like becoming more familiar with the kind of concept of the game.
So I know that they came to Square, they presented the story to Square. Square kind of signed them off. I did get to see the script at that time. I did not get to meet the team. A colleague I worked with, which is Jonathan Early, kind of joined as a producer for the project. And he knew how much I liked narrative games and that I keep always kind of up to date on that kind of type of games. And he keeps saying to me, oh, you need to look at this. I need help working with Donut as well, helping in the sense of that he was just a producer, so he could not help them on the design front at all. So I kept looking into what they were doing. I kept sending notes to them now and then, saying, okay, maybe these can be changed by this way, or maybe you could consider to do these other way. I kind of notes because I was working on another project at the time. And then I remember that my boss at the time, Will, kind of said, hey, you want to work in Life is Strange? I said, well, I really would love to, not going to lie. And I think I'd love to be involved in something like this. And at that time, I think it was August or something like this. So I never met the guys at all, and I went to Gamescom, I think it was, and they were doing some press sessions. And I remember very clearly that they reproduced the bedroom of Chloe on the first Life is Strange for press. And I kind of snuck in and kind of, I remember seeing, I think it was Michel, Raoul, and Luc who were there, maybe. Trying to remember who was there. I remember saying, hello, hey, I've seen your work, it's really cool, I really love it. I think it was Michel that said, hey, yeah, we've seen some of your comments, that'll be really nice. And that's kind of the beginning. Then I came back, and I think it was in September when my boss said, okay, cool, you can transfer there, you can start working. And I think as soon as I transferred there, we did a trip to Paris. So we used to go, my colleague and myself, like once every 4 weeks, 6 weeks, spend 2-3 days there. Sometimes I would spend maybe 1 or 2 weeks with them as well, on my own. And then kind of start talking about that, kind of playing the game, looking at the documents, looking at the dialogue, sending my notes about all those. And it kind of, we started having conversations, very open conversations. Sometimes I do agree with them, sometimes they disagree with me, and vice versa. And like any other, creative progress, you do compromise. You look on what could be the best for the game, because we all wanted the best for the game. And I kind of respected them, and I respect them a lot. They are massive, really good creators and really professionals as well. So yeah, that's how it started. Me going there and giving some notes here and there, and then from there taking on. It was very stressful.
I can imagine with constant moving, and with that as well, I kind of want to focus on you more here, because like, were there any suggestions that you pitched to Michel and Luc and Raoul about ideas that they could implement in Life is Strange 1 or 2 that kind of stand out in your mind? And where I was going with this now, And on Life is Strange 1 and 2, as a lead, as a designer from Square Enix, which are the kind of main elements that you worked on? Because obviously, like as I said, for me to figure out where you worked on things, I was like scraping through the internets and the realms of it. But then, and I never want to attribute just like one finger saying, "Ooh, Alejandro made all this," and it was all him. But it's like, you obviously had your hands in a lot of pots as a designer, constantly working on different parts of it. But what were some of the key elements for people who don't know?
Oh, that's going to be a very boring answer because unfortunately I cannot remember much. Because basically I would have, so they will send either level designs for all the levels or pieces of sections for dialogue, and I will kind of go through all of them and kind of give some notes like, okay, maybe this level design is not good on that sense, or maybe I need to give some hints on this section, or having the objective on the diary better, like put another type of sentences, like this or that, or it's a bit difficult to say. In all honesty, this is the one that I kind of proposed, and they got perfect, and everyone got there. No, it was more sprinkles here and there of stuff that I think were better or not, and we always jump into a call and we always talked about it, and we see what we could do, what we could not do, and always try to respect as much as possible the work from the team, because at the end of the day, as you said, I'm working on the publisher. I'm not there every night working with them, not every night, because no crunching, but being there with them side by side, even though we talked every single day, we met every 4 weeks. So it's a bit complicated because I've never seen a publisher relationship like this before. Not gonna lie, and I haven't seen it nowadays. But Square Enix kind of gave the expertise of a designer and a producer to help the team to bring I won't say the project to quality, but give it an objective view. Because sometimes when you work on a product, it's very difficult to kind of see that kind of from a bit more far away, a bit detached to stuff. I did help as well, kind of creating like the focus tests. So, for example, organizing focus tests where people from like normal people will come play the game and check how it was, and that created a document which is usually user research findings, a report, and then I kind of say, okay, maybe people found this that are kind of a bit more difficult, or people are struggling. Maybe we can kind of propose some of the changes on that. That's what I say is an answer is a bit boring because it's saying a lot without saying anything.
Yeah.
But it'll be unfair to the whole team to say no, this is me. No.
I was gonna ask, because we're talking a lot about this. I noticed that it's now, as I asked this question, I am not trying to knock any work that you did or anything. Like, you're a hard worker, you earned where you got to. But as I'm hearing you talk, it's more of like you introduced yourself to Michel. They welcomed you. It was just kind of like a back and forth, and it's almost like right place, right time. You had the qualifications. They knew who you were. So in your professional opinion, right, if someone wants to get into the gaming industry, say, I don't know, to be a sound scorer per se, I don't know, just off the top of my head, but if somebody wants to be in the games industry, is it more of the schooling you need to do and the professionalism, or is it just something that you kind of know the right people and you can get your spot in?
It's a bit of everything, to be honest. Mm-hmm. You need a base. You need so if you never work in the industry, having a demo reel or having a portfolio is important to see that you know how to do something. Because theory, again, for example, design is the easy one because I have an idea. Cool, an idea is. I'm going to be very brutally honest. Idea is nothing if you don't know how to put it into work. Okay, I may have a very good idea for a mechanic. If I don't know how much it takes to create that mechanic, if I don't do the prototype, if I don't do the iterations, then you have an idea. Anyone can have one. So that's important, so that sometimes, getting to school is important. I never studied game design. Start with this, okay? I have computer science background. I did not study game design. That's something I learned over time. And then kind of go to events, go to like meetups online or physical, talk to people. There is a bit of connections as well there, and kind of talk to people. I know not everyone is not find this easy to do, and it is not easy because you need to to the best face and very very lovely and nice.
Yeah.
I mean, as a rule, don't be a dick, and that's the perfect thing. I always say, like, for example, when you start meeting someone like works in the dev industry, instead of start talking like, "Oh, can you give me a job?" because the first answer will be like, "Yeah, no."
Yeah. I was going to ask, like, what is like the telltale sign that someone is just like, if you're meeting somebody at one of these game conventions, what's a telltale sign that they're not being genuine and they're just there to use you for your connection?
They have no interest in you as a person. And that's very telling. Because we're in a convention, let's say, I'm as excited for the next game I'm watching than you do. So talk to me about games. Hey, anything you're playing or anything you recommend, or how's the show being? So, not going straight away, okay, so how can I do this? Can I give you my card? And it's like, I just met you.
Yeah.
I'm here. The thing is, like, if we go to, let's say, a game convention, we're there as well. If we're there as audience, we're there to play and have fun. So we're not working to begin with. So anything that's kind of from that sense is like, just treat me as the person that you just met. And it's fine. And people tend to respond very positively. And usually, like 90% of the time, it is like this. I always say, ask about the game they're playing. Ask about what their favorite game is. We are all passionate gamers, so we will tell you 1,000 stories. So, and that's the easy way in. So, but again, you need work. Work into your portfolio, work in what you do, and showcase. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
No, go for it.
Oh,
sorry,
no,
I
was just saying that, like, go for it.
This is part of the recording experience. No, I find this all interesting because I want to kind of pull you back on one thing, Alejandro, a little bit before you said, was it about focus tests for the games that you used to be part of?
Yeah.
So just with that, I was kind of thinking, because like this is my obligatory Metal Gear reference. I always find that when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, the big twist came out when you didn't play as Solid Snake in the second part of the game. And Hideo Kojima said that a big part of that was because when they did focus groups with people, they were like playing as Snake, and it was like young girls who were like, why am I playing as this old man? Like, and it kind of changed his perception of the game, and like that really did radically change Metal Gear Solid 2's development. And I'm not going to ask you about specifics, obviously we've got so much time has passed in between these focus groups, but as a developer, when you're taking part in these focus groups, how often are you surprised with the feedback you get? Because like, as I said, they can say anything and it might not be like what you'd expected, or they might not be in preference for this character. But when you were like in these sessions engaging with people, were you quite often surprised by what they were giving you as feedback on the games you're working with?
Yeah. I mean, usually there's a lot of stuff that we know, for example, because you give half-finished games, so you know that, okay, this puzzle is not going to be good, or the difficulty here is not going to be nice, or this dialogue might not work, or this choice might not be well-balanced, or stuff like that. But it's like, they usually surprise you with the stuff that you do not know, and that's brilliant. And that's when trying to remember a example, but people chose, like 90% of them chose a specific option. It's like, oh, well, okay. And then why was that? And then kind of started questioning it and looking to how to rephrase that, or do a better job of messaging what the choice was and stuff like that. We did quite a lot of I think every episode had minimum 2-3 tests. So it was quite a lot. But I think it's useful because you get to see the experience from the beginning, and you start kind of tailoring and taking, improving everything you can. So I do recommend doing those over and over.
Okay.
But yeah, there was a lot of surprises.
Dang.
Okay. So we've obviously been drifting, as I said, like between questions we're doing, and we'll come on to Deck 9 shortly, but I kind of want to ask you, the timeline of the games you worked on, Life is Strange 1, Before the Storm, then we have Captain Spirit, Life is Strange 2, so you have that kind of breathing room between working with Donut. And I kind of want to ask you, what was the biggest challenge of like working on Life is Strange 2 when you compare it to the original? And also on top of that, did you have any concerns about when Donut made the decision, or whoever made the decision, that we're not having Max and Chloe in this game and we're having the Diaz brothers there? Because obviously Max and Chloe are like fan favorites. But were there any concerns when you moved on to the new story of Life is Strange 2 and new characters?
Easy answer there. No. No problem at all. Because when we were finishing 1, we were already talking about this kind of, this is the end of the story, and Luc, Michel, and Raoul were always very clear that this is kind of what it is. Rest stories is different stories. So it was like, yeah, that's what it is. And we started, Michel and Raoul started proposing different types of stories, different types of relationships, different types. And it was the natural thing. So I had no doubt and no fear. Like, no, this is the type of story that needs to be told. And they were very passionate about the stories that they wanted to tell. So I was like, yeah, 100%. I was there all the way through. I'd say the toughest part on working on Life is Strange 2 is, we had 1. So as soon as we finished 1, soon after we started working on 2. So that took a bit of time. Production. And it was tougher because we had expectations from people to what this was, and the change was, we go from Max and Chloe to Sean and Dano, and that was kind of okay. Could people accept this? I mean, the story was for sure to be that one. There was never doubt. But is it going to work? Is it not going to work? It's kind of the same feel with the first one, Is it going to, people can like it? People are not going to like it. However, personally, I think I did. My tough time was because while I was working on 2, I was working on Before the Storm as well, with another designer from Square as well, and I was like splitting my time between the 2 projects was very difficult in terms of try to keep focused, keep my mind clear, to both giving both projects enough time to kind of to give the proper feedback on the proper input on each one of them that doesn't feel half-assed, Sorry. But, yeah.
Dang.
Do you have anything to add, Adam?
Not yet. I have a fun question, but I'll save that one.
Oh, okay. We'll come back to the fun question. So, you give me a nice timeline there. Obviously, Deck 9, you're working with BTS, you're working with Don't Nod on Life is Strange 2, and I think there was a surprise when people saw that BTS was coming out, and it was with Deck 9's doing the prequel. People were kind of a bit unsure about where Don't Nod was going, but obviously working on Life is Strange 2. And I kind of wanted to ask you, at this point, Deck 9 comes into the helm of the franchise of working on BTS. They're new to this, new to the game. I know Chris, Floyd, and Webb Pickersgill really well. They're really, really wonderful people. And I always know that. I think was it Webb or Chris said they would even go to kind of online, look at Life is Strange wiki, for example, kind of reference points of to kind of really bring out these characters authentically. And there was, I saw some parts of the community where they kind of really came down on them hard, like Deck 9, saying oh, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. I'm more leaning and forgiving because I'm they did have a big, tall order of asking. But I kind of wanted to ask, when you were working on that project, and obviously having worked with Raoul, Michel, Luc, Christian Divine, all these people from Don't Nod, how important was it you to kind of keep in line the vision of what Don't Nod had for these characters? Because again, you're going in a different direction with BTS, telling a different story, but these characters, you've worked on it, Chloe, Rachel to an extent, you know better when you work on BTS, but Victoria, these characters. How important and valuable were those experiences working with Don't Nod, then bringing it onto the project with Deck 9?
Massively important. Because for me, it was very important that things would not break and things would not, undermine the first season, basically. So characters needed to when it was decided there was a prequel, it was important that characters would end up being who they are in the first one, so they could not be different in that sense. So you could see the arc of them taking it that way. So I remember going there as soon as kind of we started working with them. Spent 2 weeks, I think, there with Chris and Webb and the team, kind of going through all character profiles or story that was written, not nothing that was not written, and kind of going through characters, iterations on characters, stories that where the game was said, why that section, why that story, what was interesting about that story and what was not. There was a lot of conversations throughout the beginning, and every time they brought kind of like, okay, there's a dialogue of these characters, like, okay, does it make sense for the character? Does that character knows this other one or not at this period of time? There was a lot of work into, but that's why I said, like, sometimes I found struggling to balance both projects at a time because I couldn't not do that work with BTS. But as well, they needed their room to grow and to make the characters they needed. They go, Steph was one of them. Mike, there's certain characters that are really interesting that they brought in, but making sure that nothing broke that illusion of, the story that we told from the first one. Because I felt that story was as mine as done those ones. So I was at a time very, let's say, inflexible with some of the stuff. It's like, no, this character needs to finish like this. They cannot have known this, or that sort of conversations happen a lot during the entire process.
Just to pick up on one more thing, and this is not even about those games, it's more about you, because as I said, like, you're in a special position where you worked at Square Enix, and Square Enix would designate you to move with these studios and help them out. And it's not taking away from any of these other developers, they work a lot hard. But your schedule sounds rampant, because obviously, as you said, you're based in the UK, obviously very happy for that, for myself as well. But you're based in the UK, but then you can go out to Paris and work with the Donut team. You could go out to Colorado to work with Deck 9, you're shuffling between two projects, two different contrasting projects as well. Expectations are different. But then with yourself and a developer, we know the industry's got crunch time. We know it's kind of like littered with like a lot of issues, and that's not relating to the project per se. But I wanted to ask you about, how do you kind of like recover from this kind of like long period of like going from X place to Y place to Z place? Like, how important is your like me time for you during this? Like, how do you kind of like keep your engine going constantly? Because like that's something that always interests me as a developer, because like you kind of like, I feel like you get a bit fatigued doing all this, but it's like you just kind of seem like I need to manage things well and then also look after my mental health as well at the same time.
So that's a tough one. I do appreciate a lot of my alone time and my gaming and my reading and doing all the friends to hook up with and go around. So I do push for that a lot, and that was made easier for me because, to be honest, every time I go, for example, for a week to meet Donut, some of the times I ended up having dinner with Luc or Michel, or going with some of the designers to have a drink. So I felt very welcomed, and I kind of created some friendships with some of them as well. And the same with Denver. I kind of go there, spend time with Webb. I kind of went to play board games on Chris's house. I kind of did some going to bars and enjoy. I mean, it was easy for me because the teams were so welcoming, and so they didn't treat me, as far as I know, of course, as the guy from the publisher that we should not talk to and be afraid of. I was always like, bring some breakfast maybe to the team, or try to stay with them and do stuff personally that we personally enjoy all together. So that was very important when we did the trips, to spend time with them, and because they were very friendly. So I didn't feel like I was working in a sense. But then when I come back, it's like, cool, I need my weekend, I need my afternoon, and I need to do this. Yeah. And on that respect, Square Enix was very good on this, because the average is quite like 30, 40 when I was there. some people come from families, and I remember my boss respects a lot family time and me time because, of course, I mean, I want to retire. I don't want to be like one of those that get pushed out of the industry because I cannot work and then have a life. Because that's not a future I want for the industry. I want, getting someone that's 65 or 70 working in the industry and being okay with that. Because unfortunately, there is a lot of burnout and a lot of people that kind of get out of the industry because they cannot manage to do both things. And I think that's not okay. So I'm trying to do my piece there to make that difference.
No, definitely. And you said, you mentioned reading along with playing games. What books are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading, by recommendation of one of my designers, Rivers of London. It's kind of like a murder mystery with supernatural elements. And it kind of goes into London. I love London. I'm in love with the city. It kind of goes through streets and corners that I know, and I usually spend time in there. So it makes me kind of feel, I know this place.
Nice.
But I tend to read a lot of Gothic literature. I love Lovecraft, anything weird tales. Last thing I read was from Clive Barker. I managed to read Hellraiser recently, which I did not read. This thing is Broken Heart, I think it's called the right story.
Just to add that, Hellraiser is my favorite horror franchise. I love Clive Barker.
Yes.
The Hellbound Heart is great.
I haven't seen the last movie.
Yes, I have seen. Oh, yeah? It's interesting. It's an interesting revival, and I don't want to say it's the best film since the third one because the rest of them have been really questionable. But I think as a 2022 reboot, I think it's a good way of kind of giving new life to the series. 'Cause I feel like Hellraiser is one of those forgotten kind of like horror films sometimes, and like there's not enough respect put on Pinhead's name and the Cenobites. So I think like for an interpretation, I think you find it quite interesting. It's given that almost like that Jordan Peele Candyman lick of paint, which is a bit different, and it's kind of like a new interpretation. I think like it fits quite well with the tone that it's doing.
I need to get into it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So,
but yeah,
in this as well, because obviously we're talking about BTS, and I think like Adam's always kind of like low key said like it's what his favorite Life is Strange game. He loves it.
Low key, and I'm always high key about it.
Well, I'm trying. I say low key because I'm trying to say that Life is Strange 2 is his best game now. But anyway, yeah, he's always held a special place for. I've held a very special place for. I love like, especially because I got to explore Rachel Amber a lot more. I think they did so much justice with that character, Deck 9. I kind of want to ask you, when you were making this game, what was your favorite scene from before song? Because obviously there's so many to choose from.
Oh,
3 scenes.
Oh,
3 scenes.
3 scenes. Oh my god,
I love them. 3 of them, and I remember going to Denver to kind of help creating those scenes with them. So the first one is the tabletop RPG with Steph.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That was. Yes. I remember seeing that. I went like, "Oh my god, this is me playing a D&D with my friends." So that was fun because that was fun. That was something very different that we never did in this one, and it was like, cool, let's do that. Second one was Two Truth and a Lie on the train scene.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember spending kind of a lot of days working on that scene with Webb, with the lighting artists, to make sure that the scene looked and felt good, because that was a key moment to fall in love with Rachel and Chloe and that relationship, and seeing who Chloe was at that time and who Rachel might be. The other one was the play.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, The Tempest?
Yes. That was very intense work on there. Not gonna lie. I love that one. And then kind of the segue from that, the kiss scene or not kiss, of the walk to the house. I thought it's very sweet, and it was a very lovely moment. But yeah, those main 3 will be my main ones, because I love working with those, and I love pushing as much as we could for those to be very authentic and very strange style of scenes. So it's a bit of because I know that the three scenes are very could feel like very mundane, but that's kind of day-to-day life that can happen to any one of us, and that was kind of the key on Life is Strange 1. It's stuff that, you could leave, or of course not the powers, but, at the end the powers were something that pushed the story forward, about relationships and stuff like that.
So, sliding in with one of my fun questions here. So, from what I can tell, you have very strong memories with video games. Like you really connect with them in an emotional level. And I feel like I'm going to get an instant answer from you from this. It's not going to be one of those difficult questions. What is the earliest video game memory for you that made you click to say that, like, yeah, I'm into video games?
6-year-old me.
6 years old.
With the Spectrum.
What was it?
6-year-old kid, me playing with Spectrum.
Spectrum. Jeez.
Yep. My dad got that, and we remember going to the shop to buy magazines that came with cassettes. That took 30 minutes to load a game, if you were lucky.
Yeah.
So the 2-3 minutes people complaining is like, wow. Think for 30 minutes. Because I remember that was like, wow, I always had imagination, but that was kind of something very different. Since then I started playing, but I think on a different note, the first time I felt you could tell amazing stories, it was when I played Chrono Trigger, one of my favorite games.
Nice. Heck yes.
And I thought, so the game never got released in Europe. Okay.
Really?
No, never. Well, recently, but at that time, no. So I had a super NES, and I got interested because it was Akira Toriyama, and I'm a big Dragon Ball fan. So that was the drawings from Akira Toriyama. So, oh my God, this is kind of Dragon Ball in a video game, and I need it. And I did not play many JRPGs at that time. So I got my granddad to buy me the game from imported with a special cartridge that you needed to do the conversion. So you had to put a
so no region locks, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then put that. And my English was dreadful at the time, but still, it made me push to learn English. And I kind of it was a time travel story, the first time travel story that I've ever played or seen, for that matter. And it felt really engaging, and the amount of endings and everything I did seemed to matter, and people reacted to it. And I got like, oh my God, this is as good as a book.
Yeah. So that time travel aspect, it inspired you, as we collected earlier, to design the backwards and time travel in Life is Strange. That was all you, because of what you did with that was all you. Okay, I'm starting to connect the dots here. Jeez. Do you see?
Raoul are gonna kill me. No. I cannot take the calculator. I will never.
No. So this is one of those questions. Okay, see, we keep mentioning Raoul. This is one of those questions we can cut out if you know anything. Is Raoul working on anything?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. And are you still connected with him at all?
We did change some emails down then, but that's all.
Dang. He's just kind of like...
Yeah, this is our rabbit hole theory. We've been trying to figure out where Raoul Barbet is, because obviously
where's
Luc and Michel
Raoul?
are in Canada and Montreal. And I have my own kind of theories about where I think Raoul's kind of what he's working on next. And so I think that's just the curiosity of Adam.
Here's my theory. I feel like Raoul is on the peak of Kilimanjaro with a very long beard and just reflecting on what's the best narrative game. We'll see him again, but after he shaves and all that. That's my theory.
You never know. And I'm
going to say from him, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Like I just I don't know where he is, and even Alejandro doesn't know.
But even every time Michel and Luc post something on social media about the P2 project, I'm so excited to see what they're doing. Really, I'm like, I want to play a game that you two do.
I know.
It's going to be incredible. That's it. There's no other words. This is going to be amazing and incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, and the team itself that's in Montreal is fucking awesome.
Alejandro, just to ask you about that, because I want to just pick you about it, obviously, because we are very excited for what Luc and Michel are working on in Canada. Like, and just your thoughts on their teaser that they briefly showed of the VHS tape. What do you think so far?
Oh, I'm super intrigued, but I do not want to think or do theories at all. Because I know for a fact they're going to surprise. It's going to be emotional for sure, and I'm going to cry a lot for sure. I said at the beginning, I do have a huge respect for both of them, and for the team that's there as well. So I know that whatever they do, they're going to nail it. Like, I just, and this time I'm going to play it as a gamer.
Yeah.
So
it'll be a nice
extra joy. That's going to be extra joy.
It's probably best to stay away from the theories, because I think Luc tweeted at us about one of the episodes, and he said, like, you guys spoke about some really interesting things. It'll be interesting if you guys go back and watch what you talked about our game and what you got right and what I didn't. And like that tweet he sent has like literally sat in my head for the last like 2 or 3 weeks. I was read it in the morning, and I was like, where are we on something? Are we on something? And I'm like, do you like when you go even more down a rabbit hole? And I'm like, my interest has been piqued there. But no, I like, and as you said, I think like their team is really wonderful what they're building out there as well. Like, I've had time to interact with some of the developers out there, and it just seems really, a really ambitious project and a new opportunity. And I think much like yourself, having the opportunity to work on something outside of Life is Strange, a new kind of new venture, it'd be great. And I'm going to shift this conversation one more path down to BTS, and I think Adam will like this as well, because, did a bit of snooping. We went through Alejandro's Instagram profile. One of the pictures that stood out was Alejandro standing with daughter at the Square Enix at the office.
I nearly cried.
Very jealous. Very jealous. Like, as I became a daughter fan because of this game, and I became a Sid Meier's fan because Life is Strange. I think they heavily influenced me. But I wanted to ask, what was it like meeting daughter? I imagine you might have been familiar with their work before it, and then just kind of like, obviously their perception, your overall perception of the soundtrack they made for BTS, because I think like that's just their soundtrack is so phenomenal for that game.
It was incredible, and I have to thank again Michel and Raoul for this, because music has always been a big part of my life. I love music, and depending on my mood, I hear one thing or another, and I think most of us do this. But I think as well, there's a big opportunity in games, because I think music brings a lot of emotion, and I think if you choose the right song for the right scene, it's kind of extra powerful. I think everyone will remember Spanish Sahara and the rest of it. And I think Michel Raoul push a lot for a very good soundtrack on the first one. I remember talking to them about a lot of the peaks and stuff like that. It kind of made me open my mind into, how good music can kind of bring up even more what is in there. And that kind of is a lesson there I bring for me forever. So any game I work on, pay attention to the music for sure. So thank you for all me here for that.
Nice.
I'm creating problems for my future producers and studios. But no, so when we talked about BTS, there was a lot of conversations about, like, this time around we get a kind of another band to do the music, and who could be interesting, because at the end of the day, it's the story of Chloe, and who can resonate with Chloe at that period of time. There was a lot of conversations, a lot of different groups, but then when Daughter got in, I didn't listen to them a lot. I did listen to some of the songs that they had. And I was super thrilled, because as soon as I kind of listened to all the albums, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And when they said they were going to come to the office to play the game and to see what we had, it was like, oh my God, I felt like a kid running around. Like, I kind of went like, can I take a picture with you, please? And then they kind of, they were super sweet, both of them. And they allowed me to do a picture, so I'm happy.
Nice.
It was very good, because they spent some time with Webb and David. I think it was at the time with Zach as well, talking about the story, the moments, the scenes, and the kind of, I think some of the songs they wrote, everything is phenomenal, but some exclusive ones there, like Burn It Down, which I think it just touches me a lot every time I hear it. So
yeah. Follow-up question to that. So I don't think he's ever worked on the game that you've also worked on, but I have to ask, have you ever met Olivier de Verviers? Yeah, I was about to say, if you did, is he a cool dude? But probably not. You haven't, because he did work on Remember Me, but then he didn't work on any Don't Nod games. He hasn't worked on Supermassive yet. But I was like, I wonder if he's met him. But you have not.
No.
That answers my question. I'll never get to have connections with Olivier de Verviers. I'll never know if I'm saying his name right because I'm bad with names, and two, I'm not the best speaker. I'm from Philadelphia, so we don't speak that well to begin with. Oh yeah. He actually did the compositions for Plague Tales games. So Plague Tale, Remember Me,
Vampire as well.
Vampire, yep, he did Vampire. So I was just like, really, really talented sound designer too. So because the way he does it is not just trying to compose emotions, but interactions within the music. So he did a video of how he did Street Fighter, I believe. Yes, and so like he's in his DAW, and he's like, oh yeah, all you have to do is this, press this, and then you got this, and you get this note, and it's like, yeah, look, like the punches match up, we're good. I'm like, sure. I'm like, cool. But dang, yeah, you gotta look up his music, man. It's pretty decent.
Then, I mean, the games that you've mentioned, I've played them all. So yes, I do know the music. I did not know he's there, but there you go.
Oh
but,
yeah.
Following this is something that I started doing since this one, and I keep doing that today. So when I start a project, I kind of collate a playlist for myself. Kind of the type of mood of that game would be, or I imagine it to be, and that's usually kind of I've used when I work, and I kind of start putting it in and get immersed into that kind of mood and sensation, because that makes me, get in sync with that story itself. And I've done that since this one, and I keep doing it nowadays. But nowadays I do share it with the team. It's like, okay, someone wants to, because there's a bit of, me thing, so just in case.
Oh, heck yeah.
Alejandro, just to pick up on that, it's just kind of come to my head with it, because like, as you said, you have that music to kind of set the tone for what you're doing, kind of like, listen, and obviously very cultured man from my own perspective yourself, like a huge horror fan, the things you've watched, the things you've consumed. But I feel like with like a lot of the developers I've seen, like, if we're talking like Michel, Luc, Raoul, Webb, Chris, Floyd, I feel like you kind of get a bit more of an understanding of who they are through the kind of culture and like what they've kind of consumed. Do you know, like, as you spent so much time working with them on across all these different titles, like Life is Strange to BTS, was it something that you kind of tried to pick out of them when you like sat down with them, like when you went to like dinner with Luc, and then you kind of as well talked about before, like, if someone wants to come into the industry, don't just say to me, give me a job, like, like kind of like speak to me about games, kind of immerse yourself a bit. But like, did you ever find that when you were sitting with them, like say for Luc, when you're having lunch, you'd understand him better because like you talk about his experiences, his kind of like cultures, what he found like as like impactful films? Was this something that you kind of constantly do as a developer, like kind of get a better understanding of someone just through kind of like what they consume and like how it's helped to define them?
It could help to see what they do build, and it's not related to it, but I remember a lot of the conversations with Luke and a lot of the dinners around was about anime or mangas that we were reading, because we both love mangas. But yeah, it is telling as well what they do and how they approach the work. And I think that's very key. And it is something I always kind of even said to people that are getting into the industry, which is to just not play games only. Games is, something you do, and it's fine. And it's good, and you need to.
Yeah.
But read, watch movies, as many different as you can. Have experiences. Go to escape rooms. Go to, so that sort of stuff helps a lot, and kind of get to know each one of them. Kind of help us as well to kind of understand where they're coming from and some of the references. Because at the end of the day, when we start kind of like explaining what we want to do, sometimes we use references from a movie that we've seen, or from a musical that we've seen, or from a series that we've seen. But yeah, we did talk a lot about our cultural tastes while having dinner or lunches. more than work itself. Work was kind of left on the side. We outside. Let's talk about what we're playing, what we're doing, what we watched, that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I'm going to build a bit of a timeline out here, and this is, again, going down a rabbit hole. But I kind of want to talk to you that a 7-year period you're with Square Enix. Life is Strange goes through a massive jump in phases, like development, changing stylistically. And as I said to you before, like I have my article from a hardcore gamer from better part of 6 years ago. And it's when you were from the Blackwell podcast, and you did say, like, you weren't, Donut wasn't afraid of making the game look too indie. And you said, like, it's kind of like a Sundance movie. And me and Adam have always said, like, we've kind of always talked about Life is Strange 1. It's not AAA, and we always see it's like almost like a AA game. It has a publisher backing it, but if you showed it to someone, they might think it's an indie game. But then we fast forward, and the last project you worked with them on this franchise was True Colors, and it was massively leaps and bounds differently. Like, they really went ahead, and it does feel like AAA. The production values have changed. So I just kind of wanted to ask you, going to the helm of that game, how different was the development? Did you notice anything quite significantly different, or was it kind of like just another day back at the office?
No, it was. I know that one of the things they tried to do is kind of push, push for making a new step and making it more, let's say, innovating certain things that we couldn't in the past, or we didn't want to, and it was kind of trying to find other ways to improve the franchise. However, I have to say that, again, True Colors, for example, it was a special stuff because True Colors started production, or pre-production, while I was working on 2. So as soon as, before the store finished, they went to move to work into True Colors. And at the time, to be honest, I kind of decided that I couldn't work with Life is Strange 2 and True Colors at the same time. So I kind of said, my full attention needs to be in 2, and I cannot do anything else. So I kind of worked up until 2 finished, and then at the end of 2 is when I joined True Colors, which was mid-production, I think it was at the time. A bit more than mid-production, I think. And a lot of the decisions were taken already. Like, a lot of the story was kind of written. No, a lot of the story, no, it was all written at that time. And I kind of help on the kind of gameplay side and some of the side content and the use of power towards the end. And then a big time I did work on the DLC, for example, which I loved to bits doing.
Of course.
Doing COVID, and it was an interesting one to build because we didn't have much time or things to do on that DLC, and it was very I do love True Colors, and I consider True Colors to be part of my CV, which my portfolio. But between True Colors and Wavelengths has a special heart on me. But they were trying to push for more facial capture, and they built their own studio of motion and facial capture there, and they did a lot of tech improvements. So they went through a lot of changes, trying to kind of push the limits of what they could do, which I think it did show.
Yeah.
The way you speak about Steph is really passionately. I've kind of noticed that throughout this entire thing. It's like, would she be your favorite character? Because you seem to have like a really big fondness for her.
Katie's gonna hear this. So. I do love her. I think it's one of my favorite characters. Sean would be my favorite character, probably.
Yeah.
And Steph would be second, because I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on with Steph before the storm, and moreover on True Colors, that I think kind of touched into a lot of my personal life or someone I know. And that was kind of very, very nice. When you get attached to a character because either you see yourself there, or you see parts of yourself, or someone in there, it's very nice. So that's like, for me, that once the DLC was all about Steph. That was great because we could tell stories of stuff that no one has seen or heard before, and it was just a character piece that I think it was, for me, it was very lovely to do.
Oh yeah.
So Alejandro, we spoke about all the different games in Life is Strange 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to put them in numbers, there's so many of them. But I wanted to ask you, were there any mechanics that were rejected during development that you can talk about, or things that in hindsight you wish that, no, actually not maybe in hindsight, but were there any kind of like ideas that were bold and ambitious that just weren't able to make it in development? Because we spoke to Erica Moria in StrangeCast a couple of episodes ago, and she talked about how they wanted to try and do square dancing in one of the chapters for True Colors, and it just didn't manifest. Obviously, time, development, all those other factors come in. But was there anything that you remember that mechanic-wise as a designer that just didn't work in the final product of any of the Life is Strange games?
There was in Life is Strange 2 a scene that got cut. It was a puzzle with the two brothers that unfortunately we never managed to get through in the right way. Maybe it was kind of like, not only, again, it's not in disfavor of anyone in particular. I think we tried to make the best use of that scene, but it couldn't get it working in a lot of different things, different ways, and it was kind of, you always need to cut scenes anyway. That was one that got discarded, and I actually loved that one, but it was pushing it to get it perfect. It was a bit difficult. Trying to remember the reasons why we kind of took it out, but it was the best thing to do, to be honest. The second one, the True Colors had certain things that wanted to kind of make the town a bit more alive, a bit more stuff in it, a bit due to time and constraints that kind of had to be put off. But I think again, it's when you had to do the cuts, and I think that happens in every project where there's times where you said, okay, we're not going to deliver if we keep going this way.
Yeah,
it's very hard to do those cuts because people have worked on those scenes and not get mechanic on that scene, and it's just maybe it's not as good as you wanted it to be, because on paper a lot of the stuff works, but then when you put it in digitally, it always works. But it's, in hindsight, it's always better to have more tight product than trying a lot of stuff. The product, that sounds even too bad. Tight game. Sorry. Than having just too much of a content that is not good to quality, or a scene that it might not be as good as the rest of the scenes. So I do not regret to have to move, or not me, as a team, remove scenes or content that was not as good as it needed to be, or didn't help the story.
It's wiser sometimes. Sometimes things get left on the chopping table, and sometimes like they just don't make it into the game. So that makes sense. I know we've taken a lot of time, so I'm going to kind of go full circle. I'm going to go back where we started, where it's kind of like, as I said, you've been involved in all the mainline ones, and now that chapter at Square Enix is done, like True Colors is done, and obviously we have no idea if there's any more games in development or not, whatnot. But what does it feel like to have that moment when you realised that was the last Life is Strange game that you were working on, True Colors, and then also kind of like knowing forward that the series will continue and it will go in whatever directions it will, but like you won't be involved in it? Because as I said, like I've always seen it as all the time that I've covered it since 2015, it's always been like I've seen Luc, I've seen Michel, I've seen Raoul, I've seen Webb, I've seen Zach Garris, I've seen all these people, but then there's always been a constant, which is Alejandro behind the scenes working with Square Enix and working with all these studios. But how does it feel just knowing that the series will continue and it won't have you there, but also that was the final Life is Strange game you made as well?
It was quite sad, don't lie. When kind of the realization of taking a new job, this is kind of it. It was very sad because I love the stories that we told. I think they all needed to be told, and I do hope they keep telling, and they keep pushing towards telling stories that are kind of touching people's and get to the core of certain things that happen in society that shouldn't, but still do. So it was. There was a lot of doubt on myself about I am doing the right thing. Is it right thing for me to move and to just be this the last one I do. And again, that doesn't mean I know they're doing what they're doing next because I have no idea. So I couldn't even tell you. But it was a moment. It's the same as the moment where when we finished Life is Strange 2 and we're not working with Donut anymore. And I was like, I wish we could do more. Or I wish we could continue. Or I wish I could be part of Life is Strange more. So it was just bittersweet because another side of me was I get bored very quickly myself with stuff. I always say this. And if you keep doing the same things over and over, it doesn't feel like I'm doing something new and something fresh, even though every Life is Strange was fresh. I wanted to do something different. So it was sad to see it, to finish, but happy to start doing something I've never done before. And that's very scary as well. And I'm really eager to see if they continue the series, how it continues. Again, it's a big if. I hope they do, but no idea if they do. And I'll be there as an audience to see. If it keeps going, I don't know how I feel.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll what they do is going to be awesome. If they do, but it feels strange to not be part of it.
It must be an interesting idea to be the spectator this time, playing the game rather than being internally and then making it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
Exactly.
Perfect. Adam, you got anything else, Sarge?
I do. We have.
Oh, here we go.
Since we're wrapping up here, we gotta talk paella. So, I need to know, what is the perfect paella in your opinion? Is it spicy or more acidic? Is the rice more crunchy or can it be more soft? Does it have to be seafood? What's your opinion on paella?
Okay.
Just for context, before Alejandro speaks, anyone listening, so this is part of how we got Alejandro on here. So, Adam's a chef. He was showing some of his foods off. He always sends them to me over DMs, and then he was gauging with Luke, and he was like, "Look at this paella," and he was like, "I can't comment on paella because Alejandro's better to speak about this." And then Adam also showed him his ratatouille, and then Luke showed us his grandma's ratatouille, and Adam was like, "I'm not going to fight with your French grandma's ratatouille because she clearly knows ratatouille compared to me." So we have Alejandro here now, and Alejandro agreed to come on here. It's like we're going to have to, get his verdict because he wasn't going to reply in the tweet. And he's going to school Adam.
The thing is, I'd say Spain, everyone thinks that paella is just seafood. It's just not. It's just one.
Thank you. Oh, my God.
It's just one type. So actually, I went to Barcelona nearly a month ago. No, 3 weeks. And I kind of took my team, and all of them, they wanted to taste paella from Spain. And one of them is, she's vegetarian.
Yeah.
I just, I'm not going to be able to eat paella. Like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
There's vegetarian paella. That's fine. It's green paella. And then you have seafood paella. And then you have meat paella. And then you have black paella as well.
Black paella? What is that?
With the squid ink and squid.
Oh, holy crap.
Yes.
Oh.
So the meat paella usually has rabbit, chicken in it. The green one usually has artichokes, has beans, so white beans, by the way. So there is a lot of different types of paella. Okay, so one paella, no. That's what you get to tourists, and that's usually frozen, and it's usually dreadful. However, I'm going to be there. For my English fellas, no bloody chorizo in paellas, please.
Really?
No, that's an invention from someone abroad. You do that in Spain, you'll be burned to a stake.
So you can have artichokes, you have squid, chicken, but the second you put chorizo in, it's like, whoa, we're gone too far.
It's because it doesn't bring it's too strong of a flavor.
It is. No, I'm not a chorizo fan at all.
So it's
I love
very
chorizo.
spicy.
Of course,
which is fine. You can have it with everything else. It's no paella. That's a good. That's like. I mean, you can call that something, but that's not a paella. It's just rice with chorizo. That's fine. But as well, we have another thing that's called fideuà, which is very similar to a paella, but with very thin noodles as well.
Okay.
It's in the north of Spain, northeast of Spain, Catalonia, where I'm from. And it's the same as a paella, but instead of rice, you use.
Is it cooked with stock? Like you just you reduce it down with the noodles?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you spell that?
Oh, Jesus! Fuck. Sorry, my mom. Okay. It's F-I-D-E-U-A.
I-T-E-U-A. Okay. U-A. Oh, okay. Food. Okay.
And then you put garlic mayonnaise on top, and you mix it when you're about to eat it, and that is delicious.
Dang. Okay, I'm gonna have to research this a little bit because I love the history of paella. I love cooking paella because the whole point of paella is that it's everybody gathers around the pot.
It's a Sunday.
And that's the thing. It's not a matter of like sitting down in a fine restaurant and just eating your own pie. It's a shared meal, like just put your stuff in it, except for chorizo. No chorizo.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
And it's supposed to be like a whole collective. It's not supposed to be like this gatekeeping thing of just seafood. Because the only ones I've ever seen online or on blogs, it's like, oh, you have to get clams, you have to get oysters, you have to get. I'm like, I can do it with chicken because I live in North Dakota now. Seafood is not really out here. Yeah.
And the thing, I've lived, so I'm from Catalonia, and then I lived for a long time in Valencia, and then the classic in Valencia is not the seafood one. Okay, and there's different type of seafood as well. There's two types of paella with seafood. One very expensive, which I don't know the name in English. It's with bogavante. Let me look for how that's called in. Sorry. That's like a lobster paella, and then there's the seafood paella. Yeah, the lobster paella is incredible, but it's very expensive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But it's the same way here. I see some people kind of when you finish the paella, there is the burn on the bottom. See people throwing that away, which is like, Jesus, no. Eat that because that's the tasty.
Yeah.
But yeah. It is like in a Sunday, like I used to live in a village that there's a lot of places where they had these huge paella and people would come around, grab a plate, put some in it, and then sit down and talk to other people. And that's kind of classic Sunday, like a Sunday roast. There's, you do it family or with friends or special occasions. We do not eat paella every single day.
No.
No. So, but yeah, there is a lot of types. There is a lot of types. So, anyone say to you that seafood is.
Heck yes. So I guess my last question for you is that moving from Spain with very vibrant and very flavorful food, right? And going to the UK where they have bangers and mash and they call it chips with fries. Is it depressing you at all, or are you okay?
Okay, I love UK. No, I do love it here. However, I miss the food. But there's good restaurants. And to be honest, I think UK has the most varied food I've ever been in. So like you can get Indian, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and then you go to Hindu and it's incredible. It's really rich. There's good Spanish restaurants in Notting Hill. There's a couple of them there. Delicious. Yeah, I do miss the food, but I do cook myself here at home a lot.
Oh,
so
good.
I do cook my Spanish food as well. So
as you should. Dang.
Yeah, and when I went to Spain, every time I would go to Spain, it's like bring the suitcase full of food as well. Like bring stuff.
Heck yeah, dude. Oh, that's
I was
good.
expecting my heart to be broken at the beginning of this when you said that paella, chorizo can't be in paella, and I was like, oh no. It's like when he said it can't be in there, my heart was broken at that point. I was like, oh no, here we go.
Nope.
I love chorizo,
But I have to say, here in the UK, there is a lot of places where they see paella with chorizo. It boils my blood, but it's how they eat it. I'm fine. I accept the evolution of some stuff, but
That's how I feel about Philly cheesesteaks.
I think their mind is like they're just basically like, let's make this more Spanish than it already is Spanish. It's like they just put chorizo in it. It's like maybe it's not even needed. But
yeah, no.
So, but I think that's kind of like I'd say that's a trope. If you put like this is a Spanish plate, Spanish dish, they usually say it has chorizo in it. It's like, we don't eat chorizo that much. We do, but not as much as you think we do.
No.
But yeah.
Jeez.
Which, by the way, just changing subject and keeping the same, because I saw you scolding Luc about Oli Oli. I installed Oli Oli before this session. I will play it. I will promise to play it. So I'm here. I just don't want to be called out. I don't want to be called out. It is installed. So that's what I'm going to do.
We almost went an entire podcast episode about Oli Oli World get mentioned. Adam has been on Luc's case for the better part of like 2 months. Right when Luc tweeted, I was like, what?
Oh, it's so good, dude. Oli Oli, because that's the thing. It's just a fun video game. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just loads of fun. And you saw Luc having fun, so I'm glad you're going to have some fun too with it. Just tweet.
I saw a tweet the other day. It's like, I have it. I have had it since it got launched. But I haven't played it yet. So I was like, I should start doing this. Otherwise, I'm going to get asked and I'm going to get called out.
Bro. Yeah, tweet me your thoughts afterwards. Because, play, the first levels and just tweet at me, Adam, you were right. This is Game of the Year. Aside from my own game, it's coming out, but it's Game of the Year.
No, it's fine because my game is not coming out till next year. So we're not keeping Game of the Year this year.
Yeah, this year. And then, then you'll be safe.
Exactly.
Thank God you're putting off to next year, though, because Oli Oli would have just taken 4.
Imagine in a world where we see Alejandro's game go up for Game of the Year against Luc and Michel's game. Oh
no. No. Oh my God. I'll die if that happens. But it could be fun because that means that we can meet at a show. I haven't seen them for a very, very long time.
Really?
Michel, so, there's a dinner to be had at some point.
Montreal over to the UK, maybe. Maybe to Spain.
Once in each, Spain. That's really good.
Heck yeah!
So we're coming to the outro, but I'm going to throw you a curveball here. So I got a couple of questions I want to fire at you randomly.
Okay.
Just Life is Strange, because I think it ends a note on it. So we go to the old school classic convention one. It's been 7 years. Arcadia Bay or the Bay, which are we saving? Have you changed your mind?
Mm-hmm. Still the same. I'm not gonna, I love both. I'm not gonna decide.
You're not gonna decide? Oh,
no.
Because I say Pompidou every time. Every single time.
No.
Okay.
Cannot.
Fair enough. Wow, that's okay. So, Belgian waffle or bacon omelette?
Bacon omelette.
Oh, straight up.
Good shout. I was going to ask you the best Life is Strange protagonist, but I think it's going to be Sean, so I'll leave that out. I'm going to ask you a interesting one. The most underrated Life is Strange character, in your opinion?
Ooh.
We have a lot to choose from, obviously.
Pompidou is my answer.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I think I'll say Nathan.
Nathan is one of the most underrated. Why do you say that?
Yeah, because I think he got a lot of hate, which he should.
Yeah.
I think he's has a bit more depth than what it is, and he was a victim at the end of the day of a lot of things. So I feel like he didn't behave properly. Let's make it very clear. But I think, I would love to see more of him and understand him better.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Good shout. And to end this, in a hypothetical situation, Alejandro, Zach Garris, Michel Koch, Luc, Raoul, Chris Floyd, and Webb all walk into a bar for a drinking session. Who's most likely to leave on their feet?
Drinking. Wow. I'm going to bring my Spanish heritage here. I'll be living on my feet. These, Spanish people tend to drink quite a lot, and we drink quite heavily.
Yeah.
That's going to be my answer.
Yeah.
But we will all be extremely good friends still, so that's fine.
That's the main one. And
I
that's
feel like Luke could go toe-to-toe with you.
Yeah?
Yeah? No, you don't think Luke could go toe-to-toe with you in drinking?
Yeah, but oh well, he's French. Hold on a second.
Yeah, but like he's only with wine though. Like if you put a beer in him, he won't know.
Drink wine for quite a long time. That's fine.
Yeah,
that and a vodka is my favorite one.
Ooh,
dang,
dang.
Good.
So we're hearing a dinner, and then we're also hearing that which one leaves on their feet. So this is a 2 challenge thing. Like this is a call out right here. We got some internet beef. Okay, I'm satisfied with this episode. Yeah,
I'm very satisfied, and I think we can call it here. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this episode. If you did, please leave a subscribe, turn on notifications, all that YouTube stuff. It helps us keep up to date with our content. And obviously, again, StrangeCast is available on all podcast services. Alejandro, absolute pleasure having you on here, guys. As I said, Alejandro's got his own game in the works. Make sure you do check it out from Supermassive now as well. Very excited to see what you keep doing there as well. As I said. A horror wheelhouse there where we can only imagine what else you're going to bring out there. So thank you again for your time. And as I said, guys, stay tuned. We're back with more StrangeCast. Take care, guys.
Later, skaters.